Have you been stressed, anxious, or worried? Have you felt pangs of loneliness in recent times? Are you longing for greater connection with others in the world around you? In a phrase, are you looking for happiness? You are not alone. Millions of others are seeking this feeling of spiritual, mental, and physical wellness too. This podcast explores the underlying causes of unhappiness and shares with us the secrets of rewriting the frequent thoughts and redirecting the common behaviors that keep us in that state. Join forensic psychologist and best-selling author Dr. Neehall and her guests as they dive deep in the realm of psychological wellness and explore ways of finding happiness on demand.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to my podcast entitled Happiness on Demand. I'm your host, Dr. Joan Neehall. Today, we're diving into a topic that we all experience at some point, navigating the emotional highs and lows of the holiday season. While the holidays are meant to be joyous, they often come with baggage, with stress, with tension, don't they? Did you know that a survey from the National Alliance on Mental Illness found that 64% of people with mental health conditions say that their symptoms worsened during the holidays, and Christmas is one of the worst, by the way. And even for those without a diagnosis, the mix of expectations, financial stress, and family dynamics can take a huge toll on our mental health. The good news? The good news, I would say, is that I'm going to give you a psychological toolkit, my gift to you today. We can use psychological techniques that are evidence-based, they're backed by science, to manage holiday stress and to foster a meaningful season. Today, let's talk about mindfulness, boundary setting, gratitude, self-compassion, and creating your personalized toolkit. Plus, I'll share with you my unique happiness control panel, and I'll share stories and a fascinating heap of research to inspire you. So let's start. Let's try and understand holiday stress, first of all. A study in the Journal of Consumer Research highlighted that people experience the phenomenon called the holiday paradox, where they anticipate joy but often feel stressed due to overcommitment and financial pressures. This paradox is exacerbated or made worse by what researchers call decision fatigue, which depletes our mental resources and makes us feel depleted, exhausted, overwhelmed. Haven't you felt that sometimes? I remember a patient called Leanne who shared this. By the time Christmas Day arrived, Joan, I was so mentally exhausted from planning and shopping that I didn't even enjoy the day. Does that sound familiar? It's a common pitfall. Here's my tip. Create a holiday to-do list. Tasks you deliberately decide not to prioritize. It's like making elaborate desserts. If store-bought will do, why not? I mean, who says that we all have to be Martha Stewart? I'm not. I don't know if you are. And if you are, that's fabulous too, if you enjoy it. That's the big caveat. You got to enjoy what you're doing. Have passion. So now let's look at turning the lens on something else that we need to do. Mindfulness. Mindfulness to ground ourselves in the here and now. A study in psychosomatic medicine found that mindfulness meditation reduces activity in the amygdala, the brain's fear center, which helps us to stay calmer in stressful situations. It's like giving your brain a mini vacation from holiday chaos. So here are some exercises in breathing. Use the 4-7-8 technique to lower stress. And I'll repeat it. It's the 4-7-8 technique that actually has been clinically proven to reduce stress. One of my patients, Marcus, shared how he practiced this at a crowded airport during holiday travel. You know what that's like. Instead of panicking about delays, he found himself able to stay calm and even enjoyed people watching. Is that interesting? So here's mindfulness in action. If you're decorating your home, just engage your senses fully in all 5 sensory modalities. Notice the colors of the lights, the scent of the tree, or the warmth of a mug of cocoa. Light a candle. Smell. Here's my tip. Dedicate 5 minutes each morning to a mindful check-in. What do I feel in my body? What am I grateful for today? What am I looking forward to? What do I get to do? Not have to do, but get to do through choice. Now let's look at boundary setting for healthy relationships. The concept of boundary violations, when others disregard our limits, has been studied extensively. A paper in Family Process emphasized that healthy boundaries are critical for emotional well-being and for preventing resentment. We really have to learn how to say no, particularly in high-pressure settings like family gatherings. We know that, don't we? Did you know in Britain they stopped playing Happy Families? There was a game I played when I was a child, and it was called Happy Families. And you put all the pigs together and the cows together and the chickens together. It's like Go Fish. But they stopped that game, and I wonder why. Because it's a common misnomer to believe that every family is going to be happy at all times. Now, here are some examples of boundaries. You can politely decline topics of conversation by saying, look, I'd rather not discuss this right now. Or you can limit time commitments. I can join, but only for a couple of hours. Is that okay with you? And thanks for including me. That's a really nice way of establishing boundaries and not appearing to be aggressive, because we aren't aggressive. Megan, a client, shared how she set a no politics rule at her family dinner after years of tension. She told everyone in advance, and to her surprise, they respected it. The result? A more peaceful Thanksgiving, the most peaceful one, she said, that she'd ever had in years. Here's a tip. Rehearse boundary setting statements ahead of time so you feel confident when the moment arises. One of the things I tell my clients to do is when a request comes to you, and it's so easy for all of us to be people-pleasing, just say, can I think about this, please, and get back to you? By saying that, you give yourself grace to stop and think instead of jumping in and saying yes right away and then regretting it. And remember, when you say, let me think about it, and if you come up with a no, and then later on say to the person, hey, I think I do have time, that'll leave the person smiling. But if you state yes right away and then come back with a no, they're going to frown. We don't want that, right? So, yet another thing we can do during the season and add this to our toolkit is gratitude and reframing. Reframing is an important bit, by the way. Gratitude is a powerful antidote to stress. A study published, I believe, in Psychological Science found that gratitude increases dopamine and serotonin, the brain's feel-good chemicals. This explains why grateful people tend to report higher levels of life satisfaction. So try it. Write down 3 things you're grateful for every night. One of my clients, Rachel, shared how she started a family gratitude jar during the holidays. Each person added a note about something they appreciated that day, and on New Year's Eve, they read them together. She said it brought everyone closer. Now, look, there is a challenge to reframe, but here's what I'm saying. The research from cognitive therapy and research shows that reframing or finding a positive angle in challenging situations, remember the one with my client at the airport, people watching, that will decrease anxiety and depression. If we can reframe it, it's called cognitive behavioral therapy or CBT. We can reframe a negative situation and find a positive angle in it. And that's not being Pollyanna-ish, by the way. So when you're faced with a tough situation, ask, what lessons or opportunity does this present for me? Yet another thing to add to my toolkit would be practicing self-compassion. And all of this is on my happiness control panel. Kristen Neff studies on self-compassion show that it lowers cortisol levels and increases resilience. So people who are self-compassionate recover more quickly from stress and are less likely to feel overwhelmed. So what are some exercises we can use? Place a hand over your heart and say, it's okay to feel this way. I'm here for myself. For example, it's okay to not feel happy. And I need to respect my feelings now. What exactly I'm feeling. So last year, one of my podcast listeners, Kevin, felt that he'd let his family down because he couldn't afford those expensive, extravagant gifts. He'd got laid off, by the way. But through self-compassion exercises, he shifted his focus to spending quality time with loved ones, which turned out to being infinitely more meaningful. And they were more grateful to that, by the way, than just the money or the gift tossed out. It's a gift of self. So now that I've talked a bit about things we can add to the toolkit, let's think about making your personalized toolkit. A study in, I believe, Frontiers in Psychology suggests that creating routines or rituals tailored to fit one's emotional needs can act as a protective buffer against stress. So think of it as your personal safety net for the season. What's going to be in this personalized toolkit? Now, let's be curious. It could include calming items like a favorite book, a playlist of soothing music, a journal for reflection, some candles, bath salts. The sky's the limit. It's your personal toolkit, so it's what makes sense to you. For some people, it involves a walk outside. That, again, is going to be personal because it's your personal toolkit. But keep it visible. Just don't create it and then hide it away. Put it on your tablet. Put it somewhere by your refrigerator, by your night table, by your phone, so that you remember to check in ever so often. Especially when you feel that stress. Some people feel it in the upper torso, in the diaphragm. You might feel a tightening, a constriction in breathing. It could be in your stomach. Could be wherever in your body. Some people feel it in the prefrontal cortex. Take some deep breaths. Go to the toolkit. Priya, a patient of mine, shared how her holiday toolkit included candles, a gratitude journal, and a list of her positive affirmations. And she would keep it by her bedside, and she would use it whenever she felt overwhelmed. So remember, you need to check in with how your body feels. If you're feeling overwhelmed, check in with the body. Where is it? And welcome those feelings because they're like a red light. You just don't proceed with caution. You stop and deal with it right away. So we've looked at mindfulness, boundary setting, gratitude, self-compassion, and building a personalized toolkit. And this is all backed by evidence-based psychology to help you thrive during this holiday season. And remember, the holidays are about connection, not perfection. So be kind to yourself. Practice self-compassion. Focus on what really matters. If you had 3 days left to live, what would you be doing? Would you be fussing over that turkey that isn't just perfect, or the ham, or the cookies that were store-bought? Or what might you be doing? And I'm curious because I'm sure that it has nothing to do with that. So focus on what's important for you. And don't forget to subscribe for more tools to help you lead a balanced, fulfilling life, like exercise, like proper nutrition, like reducing alcohol consumption. It's so easy to fall off the wagon then. During the seasons, oh, it's just another glass. And proper rest. So during the holiday season, we really absolutely must focus on what's best for ourselves. Some other things you might do is visualization and positive imagery. Visualization, by the way, is not wishful thinking. It's science-backed. It is evidence-based psychology. A study, I believe, in neuropsychology found that when we imagine a positive outcome, our brain activates the same neural pathways as if we were actually experiencing it. That's the power of visualizing. This can help reduce anxiety and increase motivation. So imagine yourself at a holiday gathering where everything goes smoothly. See the warm smiles, hear the laughter, and notice the way you feel at ease, how the body is feeling. Check in with it. Engage with all of your senses. What do you hear, see, or smell? This primes the mind for success by reinforcing positive expectations. Or how about doing what I like to do? I like these escapes to a peaceful place. Close your eyes, imagine a calming scene, like a snowy cabin in the woods with a crackling fire, or a serene beach with gentle waves, or a walk in the woods. Spending just 5 minutes visualizing this can help lower stress and shift your mood. A study in Frontiers in Psychology revealed that guided imagery reduces cortisol levels and produces relaxation. It's like hearing a dog bark. Stop. Ask yourself, what do I need for right now? I need to escape to a peaceful place. Go. Because just like the dog barks to warn of danger and protection, we need to do that and learn to do it when cortisol, our stress hormone, is released. Very often, I should say, in the holiday season, we get so immersed with what we have to do that we forget that the first step is to take care of ourselves. Do you remember what they do in the planes? They say, put on that mask for yourself, the oxygen mask first, then deal with someone else. Why aren't we doing that now for ourselves? Sarah, a client of mine, shared how she used visualization to handle a very chaotic holiday. Before her in-laws arrived, she spent a few moments imagining everyone connecting and enjoying the day. Look, everything didn't go perfectly, but she said the exercise helped her approach the day with a calm and positive mindset. So I invite you to create a visualization mindset, a playlist. Use soothing music or guided meditation recordings, guide your imagery and deepen the effect. Or even go back to my podcast, listen to it. You might even want to combine visualization with mindfulness. During your morning mindfulness practice, visualize the day unfolding in the best possible way. This blends the grounding effects of mindfulness with the optimism of positive imagery. So before visualizing, reflect on the one thing you're grateful for. I like doing that first because it primes the brain and the mind to see possibilities and strengthens the emotional impact of the imagery. So with my holiday happiness tune-up, I'm talking about what I talk about on my happiness control panel. I'm talking about connection, deepening relationships during the holidays, gratitude, cultivating appreciation amid chaos, celebrating small wins, finding joy in little moments, reducing your travel time, reducing the amount of time you've got to commute, because all of those things add to a cumulative effect of stress and resentment, learning how to say no. Unless you're dyslexic, as I say, it doesn't mean on. No, I can't. And the first person we have to learn to say no to is ourselves, our people-pleasing perfectionistic traits that say, well, my mom did it this way, my grand did it this way, I have to do it that way. No, start a new ritual. I have a widow who said to me, my new ritual this year is to light a candle in memory of my husband. And my children come around and we start remembering happy times, memories, nuggets along the way from what my husband, their father, taught them. Isn't that lovely? So we don't have to be happy at all times. In fact, the opposite is true. But can we embrace the moment? Can we do that by understanding that in my framework, happiness isn't a passive experience, but one that we actively influence through certain dials or key factors, or as Alyn says, I taught him how to change the channel. By engaging with each of these dimensions on my happiness control panel, we have the power to tune into our emotional states and build a more fulfilling holiday season. For example, connection, deepening relationships. That's central to our well-being. So do it. Another thing you might do is understand that John Capicchio's research on loneliness shows that social connections are as critical to our health as food and water. So we have to connect. And if you are on your own this season, how are you going to nurture yourself? Are you going to get out of yourself, get out of social anxiety and say, hey, I'm going to volunteer at a soup kitchen? Or maybe I'll do something else. I'm going to create my own rituals to comfort myself. So you're connecting. Okay. So you're asking yourself, what is the one small win I've had today, no matter how small? How did achieving this task or goal make me feel? What is the one way I can celebrate this small win and do it every day from now till the holiday season starts, i.e., the day of? So you get to look at hustle and bustle of life. But instead of that, can we engage in a pleasurable activity every day? Because that's going to elevate our mood, right? Are you asking yourself, what did I do for pleasure today? What did I do to nurture myself today? Or is it all, oh, I didn't get this done, that done, I haven't done everything? So it's a more holistic approach because each of the dials, connection, gratitude, achievement, pleasure, kinds of ways to nurture ourselves and others, all of these things will lead to a stress-free holiday season. And that's what we need, don't we? We also need, by the way, to adjust our expectations. We're not perfect. We're not AI. We're not a computer. So we're prone to error. Can we factor that into the equation? Is it okay to do what I do sometimes? Order in for Christmas dinner or Hanukkah or Thanksgiving so that I have more time to be really there with my guests and family and friends. Isn't that important? Or is it important to sweat in the kitchen and then resent the fact that you got all that cleanup to do? Surely there must be a better way to do it. I think so. So do it my way and let me know how it works for you. Here's a final tip. Keep a holiday happiness journal throughout the season. Every day, spend a few moments reflecting on my happiness control panel, how you've nurtured connection, gratitude, achievement, self-compassion, forgiveness. Yeah. How I've got rid of the anger that was controlling me, how I was able to help others. Just take a look at the happiness control panel, and then this could become a new tradition for the years to come, your tradition that you want to share with your family and friends. So if you like this podcast, please subscribe, share it with others. And now I'll turn the lens on Alyn, who might have a few questions for me.
Well, I do, and thank you very much. It's a great time of the year for a lot of people and a very sad time of the year for other people. I've heard some people say they hate Christmas for a variety of reasons, that they can't be with the people they want to be with. They can't do what they want to do. And in your book, you talk about how people can change their lives. What are some of the things people can do? Because just to go on here a little bit, I've learned from you that there is an epidemic of loneliness. More people than ever in history are living alone. So how can people connect directly with other people? How can they enhance their lives at Christmas time? And how can they avoid the depression that this season brings on for other people?
Those are really good questions. They're brilliant. Let's go into the first, because you've asked me several questions there. The first one is, I'm feeling lonely. I'm down because I can't visit with family, because I'm stuck in British Columbia, in Canada, in the States. I'm in a state that I can't move. Okay, fine. One of the things that I suggest we do is use our computer. I had a client who did it actually with great success. He started a Zoom for several people. So he had the Zoom on, and we have time changes depending on which state you're in or which province you're in, if you're in Canada or in the States. And so all day long, friends and family could jump on and talk and even share what they were doing and what they were eating, and shared a few jokes with each other. That's a really nice way to stay in your pajamas all day long and have a nice time visiting with people, isn't it? The other thing that you asked about is that Christmas holidays are a time that people dread. And they dread it for a variety of different reasons. One of the things that my research shows is they dread it because of the expectations. It's paradoxical. We tend to think of the future and we tend to think of the past, and it sets us up for failure. Let me explain what I mean by that. Because we think of the way our ancestors, our grandparents, the extended family celebrated the holidays. And now I want to do it the same way. That's a perspective thinking. I want to make it even better than what they did. Huh? And so you set yourself up, you stress yourself out, and you're exhausted at the end. So that's not good. What I suggest we do is dumb down our expectations. Let's accept the fact that we're human beings, that we need time to rest, we need time to rejuvenate, and that means that we need time actually to spend with people who count in our lives. People on their deathbeds, what they say is their first regret, their major regret is I didn't spend enough time with family. I didn't spend enough time with people who counted in my life. Now, if this is important, isn't that what we should be putting the lens on? Turning the lens on and zooming in on how to be present for people versus the presents that I'm going to buy for people. So that's something we can look at. Expectations, the ways to limit the things that stress us out. With loneliness, which is an epidemic, Theresa May created the Ministry of Loneliness. We have it right throughout the world. I think we need to think of it in terms of what are we going to do as individuals if we are feeling disconnected, because loneliness is based on a lack of connection, and social connection is the most important variable. It is locked in our DNA. We're programmed to be social animals. That's where COVID-19 came and hit us in the sweet spot. So what we can do if we are feeling lonely is to reach out. And if you don't want to reach out, one of the things you can do if you're feeling very self-conscious and you're an introvert is how about going to your church, your synagogue, your mosque, whatever your place of worship is. And if you don't have one of those, can you volunteer at a soup kitchen? Can you do something outside of yourself and in that way connect with others? Can you go for a walk, for example, and smile at someone and notice what happens? Because what happens as a result of that is the mirror neurons in the brain connect, and the other person is going to smile in response to you. Another thing you can do is start a book club, but not with your friends. Why am I saying that? Because when you meet new people, it actually enhances your mood. And that's what we need. We need variety. Otherwise, we adapt, we get bored. So those are some of the things we can do if we're feeling lonely. We can reach out. If you're feeling depressed, however, you need perhaps to find a therapist, someone who's skilled in the field who can help you overcome these feelings that you're having, most of which, in my opinion, are based on unrealistic expectations surrounding the season or conflict with family members. And now how do we reenact that? And it's interesting how we tend to regress when we go back to that family dinner, to our childhood, and we start behaving in a similar way. We need to be aware of that, and we need to be aware of what it's saying about us and then how to change. And that's where a skilled therapist can really help you with those issues.
You mentioned Christmas can be a time for forgiveness. There are a lot of broken relationships out there that people suffer with. Could this be a time to reconnect, to reach out and try to mend broken relationships?
That's such a good point, because it is that time. The question that comes up for me, though, is, am I ready to reach out? Am I ready to put my jugular on the neck, on the cutting board, and get it chopped again? And for some people, that's very hard because the wound is very deep. So we need to respect where the person is at. And if they're ready, yes, this is a wonderful time to say, hey, it's been a while that we haven't connected. Can we get together? And look, if what I did in the past, as I reflect, this is my behavior, this was what I did, and I really would like to apologize for it. That would be a sincere apology, because notice what you're doing. You're identifying the behavior, you're taking responsibility for it, and you're saying, I just want to extend to you my apology. Notice I'm apologizing sincerely. I am not being defensive by saying, I did this because you did that. You did X and I did Y. No, we're taking responsibility and saying, this is what I did, and this is where I need to offer you my sincere apology. And hopefully moving forward, this behavior will not be repeated. Okay, now when you give that apology, and you ask for forgiveness, it doesn't mean the other person is going to forgive you, but you have done your part. You've opened the channels for that to happen.
Some of the things that may be triggering for depression, I think, brought on by the holiday season could be indulgence, overindulgence, eating, drinking, that kind of thing. Can you recommend changes that people can make? Is it a time to advance the New Year's resolution to before Christmas resolutions? Here's how I'm going to approach the holiday season.
Yes, and what you said made a lot of sense to me, because what I'm thinking is the holiday season, overindulgence in food and wine and all the rest, and then a New Year's resolution. I think one of the things I mentioned in the toolkit that I'd love people to do is to be put into the toolkit exercise as number one priority. Number two, diet, health, healthy eating. And if I'm going to do a bit of unhealth, I need to monitor myself. How many drinks I'm going to have, how much alcohol, and be vigilant. And ask someone, your partner or some friends or family, hey, help me with this, because I really don't want to have a hangover. And when New Year's Eve arrives, I have extra pounds and extra guilt to carry into the new year. So yes, if you're proactive and you do it that way, that would be healthy, wouldn't it? But not forgetting, it's not just a resolution. I'm talking about a way of life in which we have moderation, but we're not putting ourselves in a straitjacket and saying, hey, I could only have X. No, you give yourself permission, but permission and saying, and these are the boundaries I'm setting for myself. Does that make sense?
Absolutely makes sense. And I know that people can make changes in their own minds to redirect their lives. And I got a lot of that from the book that you have beside you there, Happy is the New Healthy, which I read with great interest. And it was life-changing for me. What I try to do, and I think others can do as well, is what are the 5 things I can do today to make my life better or make life better for other people? And then make sure that you do it. Little things like that. And when I'm thinking negative thoughts, from your book, I change my channel, as you noted, and I go, I'm not going to think negative thoughts. I'm not going to think of all the bad things that are going to happen today. I'm thinking of all the good things that could happen today, and I can make that happen, and here's how, and then go about and try to do it. And I know you espouse this philosophy and this mindset, and I think Christmas time is a good time to reset. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely. And I really love the point when you said, well, we want to do this during the holidays in anticipation of the new year, because we don't want to make resolutions on December 31st. Why don't we resolve to take it one day at a time? Like today, this is my choice. You said 5 things. I say to people, if you can't do 5 because you're a high achiever, Alyn, how about just doing 2 things or 3 things, but do them to the best of your ability? Huh? And then carry that through a lifestyle change that you're carrying through hour by hour, day by day. So when January 1st arrives, you're pleasantly surprised that you don't have to make a resolution because you have jumped on a system, a way of life that works for you every day.
In previous podcasts, you've talked about how COVID has changed our lives forever, the way we live our lives. It's made people a lot more lonely because we couldn't get together during COVID. And I think there's fewer parties, fewer get-togethers now. And I would assume it's up to people to change that now that the COVID restrictions have been lifted and we're a lot better off health-wise.
You're right. But COVID still affects us in the sense that people are still very concerned about RSV. Is there a virus? If I'm flying on a plane, will I contract something? People are much more aware now of viruses than ever before. So there is that fear almost, a reluctance to travel, a reluctance to engage in as many crowded social events that they would have not thought about in the past, right? So COVID does affect people. COVID also affects people financially. A lot of people lost their jobs, Alyn. A lot of people went through hardship and they're just recovering from it.
They are, and I know that there's certainly gatherings now that there weren't for 3 years during the COVID restrictions. We couldn't get together. We shouldn't have gotten together, but there's an increase in gatherings. But, I sense that it's not the same as it was before. So certainly people can invite their next door neighbor. They can go and attend a church function. They can do all the things that you say to make sure that they don't feel alone. And it's surprising what happens when you reach out to people. Oh, that's wonderful. I'd love to get together. What's your Christmas message this Christmas 2024?
What I'd like to share is my message is, let's practice self-compassion. Let's be compassionate towards ourselves, first of all, and extend that compassion and love to others. Because you can't extend it, that understanding, that empathy, that compassion to others when you're anesthetized from your ankle to your neck with a lack of compassion for yourself. And that's the biggest and the most impactful Christmas gift we can give to ourselves and to others.
Well, Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to you, Dr. Joan Neehall. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. I got a lot out of your book, The Happy is the New Healthy. I urge everybody to sign up for this podcast. Got a lot of good information on the way we can lead our lives and achieve happiness. So all the best to you and your family.
Thank you. And all the best to you, Alyn, and your family as well. I want to wish you the compliments of the season and to thank you for your invaluable input to this.
Always a pleasure. Thank you.
Bye-bye now.
Thank you for joining this discussion on happiness. We hope this helps to inspire you to lead a more joyful life. To dive deeper into the subject of happiness, be sure to check out Dr. Neehall's book, Happy is the New Healthy, available as an ebook or hardcover. For additional resources, visit our website at drneehall.com. Until next time, stay happy.